we started this conversation previously. These are definitely being aired in order. I've learned that lesson about Elon Musk buying Twitter. We want to get into a little bit on the political side, but I promise to try really hard to keep it nonpartisan. Today's Not So Critical Update.
So Mike said, we would like to get political for a minute, but like, I don't remember anybody else saying that, Mike. I mean,
John brought up Truth Social.
Yeah, but inherently,
joke.
Truth Social is not a political.
Right. Okay, let's humor him, John. Right. Come on, let's let him have a.
So here's my, because one of the things that Elon Musk. Well, one of the things that people assume about the purchase is that it would open the door for people, famous politicians who have been banned from Twitter, would allow for them to return to the platform. And I think part of the issue is that
you mean Trump, right?
I just mean any politician who's been banned from Twitter for whatever reason could be allowed to return.
Donald J. Trump, I believe, is full name.
Marjorie Taylor Greene, whatever. It's not my business.
Putin, he needs to get on Twitter
to be allowed. So one of the things that I saw happening this week was Marjorie Taylor Greene's testifying, and she's being sued, I guess, not to be able to run. I have no comments on that. But my question is, in watching some of the testimony, she would be asked, hey, did you post this at this time? And the response was like, well, that's what it says, so I guess I did. Or did you make this comment? I don't know. Other people manage my Twitter, so I'm not sure if I did. Did you like this response? And is that an endorsement? I don't know, maybe. So my question is, from a completely nonpartisan standpoint, if I'm a politician and I like someone else's tweet, should that be taken as an endorsement by me of their view?
No.
It doesn't mean anything.
I just feel like a like or any type of heart action on social medias. Maybe they like.
And I bear no special responsibility if I'm a politician.
I think it's drilling too far down into it. And I think that kind of way of thinking is probably wrong. I came across a situation where I had to think this way today. So at work, we have a lot of edge case sites which require a lot more thought. Is this site hate content or not? Is this site adult content or not? Right? And you have to. It's a very narrow line, very thin line, because you have to classify it one way or another, and usually somebody's going to get upset. Like, for example, a classic example is for us is Victoria's Secret. Is that adult content or not? And you have to think about it from a different point of view. Am I a hippie parent or am I a strict conservative parent or whatever? The way to look at it is, I think,
or you're a teenager.
Yes. Am I a horny teenager? In which case, I'm not using DNS, but. Are we allowed to mention work here? I don't know. Jeez. Anyway,
you're going to bleep that out, or are you doxing yourself?
I'm doxing myself, essentially.
We'll make the decision later. Keep going.
I'm very Googleable.
That's true.
It's not like a hardcore doxing going on. Anyway, so with Marjorie Taylor Greene, maybe doesn't indicate a like, but it definitely indicates a strong interest in that. And if you look at it in the context of all the other things that she liked and other comments that she's made, you could form an idea and a picture of what somebody is interested in and their viewpoints. Or you can flat out ask them and say, okay, well, why is this like this or why is it like that? And so
what's your conclusion from all that?
My conclusion is that I started.
You have to look at the greater context.
Yes, exactly.
Well, I mean, that starts to break down, I think, in a legal setting, because maybe not. I guess it depends on what kind of, if it's a jury or judge or whatever. So look at a retweet or a quote tweet. Any additional endorsement for that? Or I guess, can you be held responsible for what you say on social media in any way? Yeah. Or can you just, as a politician, go and say whatever shit that you want on social media?
No, of course. Listen, I think a big problem is one thing that jumped out at me was that I guess she said that wasn't me. My team handled my social media account. That's where the muddy waters kind of
That's just
get
bullshit.
murkier, because this is your face, right? This is your face. This is your name on this account. You're the one authenticated and verified on the account. You, as in you personally, have taken the steps that Twitter outlined to become verified.
And not in her case, because she was banned from Twitter, but just generally speaking.
We're
not talking specifically about any one person.
That you should be held accountable, even if your team is the one that made the tweet.
If it's your account, you're responsible for what goes on it.
You're trusting in your team to not say shit that's going to blow back in your face because they're doing so in your stead, in your name. Is my opinion.
So what if you have somebody who is essentially making policy on Twitter?
Well, that's a big issue, because it's like, it feels very, I don't want to say flimsy, but like, yeah, let's do it. You know, that was not an impression of anyone. It's just saying.
Was it? Could it have been? I didn't think that was possible.
I didn't know. I didn't pick up on it.
Okay, good.
I wasn't going to give you credit for an impression, John. Don't worry.
Oh, good. Well, it wasn't a good one if it was.
Yeah. Okay.
But my point is, like you said, making policy on the platform, it feels like we are circumventing a bunch of the walls that have been put up to make policies.
Yes and no, right? So I don't think it should be considered policy, but it's really just another communications method, like channel, right? It's just another way of conveying what you intend and what you think. There are official channels for how things, there's let's talk about Trump for a second. Like, there's executive orders, there's the law that he can kick off. I don't really understand how the whole different branches of your fucking country works.
Neither did he. Oh, damn it. Sorry.
Like, you have the normal ways of doing things. You can announce things on Twitter. You can say, I want to do this, but it's the same as standing in front of a room full of people and saying the same thing, right? It's a press conference, essentially. It's not, you're just saying.
But when you say in that press, it's basically it's like you've set up the microphone yourself.
Yeah.
And with a blink, 300,000, 1 million, 5 million, 10 million people appear in front of that stadium. And you say, this is it. I've done it. It's done. You've not gone through any of the vetting or maybe even compliance or underlying rules that have been created to do what in this regard, maybe it's a veto or it's a pardon or it's a executive order. Like you said, you just skipped everything that has been created to make it not difficult, but I guess honest. I don't know.
I mean, you reduced it to Twitter discourse versus an official statement. And I think this is kind of why I was bringing this up in the context of Musk buying Twitter, is that it's not a town hall. I saw somebody on Reddit described it. It's not a town hall. It's the gossip table in a high school cafeteria. Right. And I think socially we think about Twitter a certain way. So all social media. And these things break down. If you put official political discourse on the same level as everything else on Twitter, I think it creates real problems.
Bollocks. I think that's I don't agree with that at all. I don't know. No. I kind of see where you're coming from, and to be honest, to me, I used to think that way. But then I thought, well, humans evolve and communication channels evolve, and things. The TV used to be a novelty, and now it's a place where you can actually have State of the Union addresses. Like it's email used to be. There was no way that I could get a fucking contract signed by email. I'd have to post it and print out a thingy and then sign it with my hand. But now you can use DocuSign or whatever, some online signatory service.
But should Twitter be the place?
I'm just saying things evolve. Like they go from something that used to be the gossip table, but turns into, when people start using something in a certain way, and then other people accept it that way, then it is that thing. It's the same thing with language.
And look, one thing that I think I appreciate about Trump is he exposed how some of the comp was really just all bullshit anyway.
Yeah.
God, it's very archaic.
Oh, that feels horrible. Ugh, I kind of agree with you, actually.
And I think this is what people like about him. The people who like him, I think this is one of the things that people like about him, is that he's the guy who's like, fuck it, I don't feel like getting dressed up for this party, so I'm just gonna go in my fucking jeans and shorts and like whatever. What are you gonna do? And that's what everybody wants to do in their own lives, and here he is just doing it. And I think that's appealing. I think to some extent being more open on Twitter is appealing because you feel like you have more communication, you feel like you have that closer connection. I just can't get past the feeling that like some things need to be more formal.
Agreed.
Why? What for? This is something that's frustrated me about corporate culture for a long time. And then Larry Page and Sergey Brin came along at Google and were like wearing jeans and t-shirts in their meetings. And everyone was like, hey, you know what? We don't actually have to wear a suit for this. It doesn't make a difference.
I think it's because of the consequences. If you're going to make a decision that's going to affect 300 million people, there needs to be due diligence behind that. It needs to be handled carefully and with respect and properly and go through the right channels and be thoroughly vetted and communicated well. I think those things are important.
I agree.
And you don't get that on Twitter.
No, well, you don't generally get it on Twitter. I don't think you can't have it on Twitter. I think that there's a correlation between the idiots who post on Twitter like Trump and don't. The problem is that they don't pay attention or give the proper respect to anything. If he probably, if he was forced to write executive orders, he would have gotten a crayon and written it out. And that would have been exactly the same kind of effect.
Basically did. It was just a magic marker, right?
Right. It's just some other people.
It's the same problem to me as the guys who, quote unquote news anchors that'll go to court and say like, oh, I'm not really a news anchor. I'm just an entertainment. So you can't hold me responsible for anything I said under the guise of news because I'm just playing a character on TV. I think the same thing with Twitter, social media in general irritates me because then you have these politicians saying like, look, that's just what I said on Twitter. That doesn't mean anything. Right. That was just me being entertaining as a private citizen.
Yeah. Where is the line?
Yeah. I know.
And with time, I think, Peter, you're right. We will figure this out just like we figured it out with the internet and signing digitally documents or television being the go-to place for watching official government, announcements or whatever.
Really, it's not us that gets to decide. There isn't like a full-on rule book for new forms of communication in new ways. It's what people accept.
That's what I meant by us. Like, it's us as a society.
That's not like us going, right, is Twitter official? Okay, guys.
I am not on board, therefore it is over.
Yeah. I think it's very much one of these things I love about language is that it's so fluid. It's so new words get added to the dictionary every year, and other words get taken out of the dictionary, and definitions change because language changes. And there is no the grammar Nazis or spelling Nazis are telling you, oh, this is what it means. This is what myriad means, and this is how you're supposed to use it. And you can't say I could care less because that's just incorrect. Whatever. You know what I mean? And my message has been understood, and like 90% of the people in the room have accepted it. So therefore, that is now the new definition of I could care less.
Are we allowed to call them grammar Nazis, though, Peter?
I just did. So we'll find out, I suppose. If I get cancelled. I kind of like the idea about getting cancelled.
That's your challenge.
Yeah, you want to give it a hop? You want to give it a try?
Yeah, guys.
Your Russian accent. Do it in your Russian accent. We'll see.
Definitely don't do it in Russian accent.
No.
I don't get cancelled.
No. We're done.
I need wait. Internet. Da.